We're back, y'all. Coming off a win this week. I'm very pumped up for this episode. First one. You guys, I'm excited to show you. Good to have you back.
Week 5. Anthony, back again. Back home this week.
Yeah, good to see that. Yeah, let's get into it.
So, all right, I guess stories of the week. We'll start off with, I guess, unfortunate for us Commanders fans, and we'll get into our own troubles later, but the Eagles 4-0. They picked up another big victory. The Eagles, I think, going into this season, they definitely had a decent amount of hype. I think people expected more out of Jalen Hurts, kind of saw with A.J. Brown what that offense could kind of be and what the defense could be as well. But now we're seeing it fully come together. I think the Cowboys are still probably favored preseason to win the NFC East, but the Eagles undefeated. They're looking
it's Eagles now.
Yeah, I would say
they're favored.
I don't know. They're favored now, and it's kind of difficult to see. I don't know. They're like a legit team. They're going to challenge a lot of teams in the NFC, and as much as I hate to say it, I don't know. I could see them going far. It's going to be interesting to see what the Eagles do for the rest of this year.
I couldn't agree more. Worst part about it to me is just the whole division, dude. The Cowboys are 3-1. When I saw Dak go out, I was like, okay, they'll be 0-4. I'm fine. 3-1 right now? Are you kidding me?
Rush is dirty.
And then Giants. Okay, they start off 2-0. What was it? Maybe 1-1. I don't even know.
Now
they start off with a win, and I was like, what is this? I hope the Packers like really humble them this week. Just like a 40-0 game where people realize this is still the Giants. And Saquon isn't legit this year anymore. Let me get back on track.
There's another picture on the screen.
That was off topic. Just pissed off Commanders fan here. But yeah, so other story of the week, we had the Bills take down the Ravens. Honestly, that could be the AFC Championship. Ravens came out looking hot. They got like a 23 lead, I think it was 22-3 lead.
Yeah, so they were up by a lot.
And then I don't think they scored again. They shut down Lamar. Josh Allen finally woke up and put on a show in Baltimore. I was happy to see it as a Commanders fan. Like I'm always happy with the Ravens losing some games, you know.
I take them down.
Nice. Falling to 2-2, you know. It just showed. I think Bills kind of fell off. They lost last week. They started slow, but everyone knows they're a wagon. They're going to keep winning games. That was probably a fluke the first half. Don't really know what happened there. It should be fine. But yeah, let's get in the upset of the week and blowout of the week. Upset of the week, we got the Falcons taking down the Browns. I mean, honestly, I think a lot of people wrote the Falcons off coming into the season, especially with Mariota's performances recently. Like he hasn't been playing the best. People have been mentioning their backup Ritter coming in. I don't know how you pronounce that. And it's just the Browns have all these expectations. Obviously with Watson not being there, it's not the same. But Brissett has been playing well, and coming in this game, I was like, Browns easy win. And Falcons proved me wrong. They stuck with them the whole game, and honestly, they're probably gonna get their butts kicked by the Buccaneers this week. But
in reality,
I don't see them not winning, especially with the Buccaneers falling to 2-2 now, and the whole division is 2-2. So I don't see. No, Saints are 1-3, and Panthers are 1-3. But it's the West. NFC West is 2-2. But either way, I don't see the Falcons being legit.
Yeah, there's no way the Falcons. And I think it was interesting with this one, and a big thing, we'll get into it with fantasy outlook later, but Cordell Patterson got hurt, I guess, came into the game hurt, ended up not playing at a certain, I forget when exactly, sometime in the second or third quarter, stopped playing. Now he's on IR, so out for at least 4 more weeks. But the backfield for Atlanta with Tyler Algier and I think Caleb Huntley ended up being kind of the thing that won them the game. That was the dominant force of this game. 2 guys who were the backups, who weren't really expected to do anything in fantasy or in real life, ended up being pretty impactful and won them that game. So impressive to see from Atlanta. Probably not, something sustainable, but a positive sign for a team that otherwise doesn't probably really have many.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess the blowout of the week, the scores of all the games this week were pretty competitive. So not necessarily a blowout, but the biggest one was the 49ers over the Rams. We see there, Debo had a phenomenal highlight TD run. I mean,
You won me my game.
You
Love that man.
literally, that touchdown literally did. We'll get into it, but that touchdown did.
It gave me a 1 in the win category.
And it was, I mean, it was a good game. Impressive to see the 49ers. I think definitely some doubts when Trey Lance went down about, is this team going to be able to keep it up? Will that slow down any of that momentum? Will that be a downer for them? But Garoppolo's come in. He's doing fine. The offense is running as it has been otherwise. And the defense is doing what the San Francisco 49ers defense has been doing. So they're looking good, 24-9, another win for San Francisco. And the Rams looking kind of rough. The Rams are, I'm like kind of worried for them. I don't think that they're going to be able to, I mean, I right now, repeat, I feel like is definitely out of the question. They're not the best team in the NFC at the moment. And I don't know what changes that. I don't know. It's not necessarily, I don't know if it's like one individual thing. I just don't think they're good enough. I don't think they're the best team anymore.
I couldn't agree more with you. I think 49ers are taking that division as of now.
Yeah.
Unless the Cardinals wake up, I don't see Seahawks sustaining this currently, but yeah.
Realistically.
Should we get in that Commanders check-in?
Yep. Yeah. So we got Commanders check-in. Unfortunate. I mean, just.
At this point, I don't know. I mean, I think the season's over at this point with how good our division is.
How about this? I have a question with Wentz. How close are we to like Sam Howell time? How close are we to trying him out?
He's got a week or two. The thing is, I personally can't put all the blame on him. I mean, he hasn't looked great. I will admit that. But the line is every time I look at my phone, another guy's out for the season. I'm like, who's guarding him? Who's protecting him? It's like ridiculous at this point.
It's brutal. Like, I don't really. It's brutal. It's disappointing. Dotson, another touchdown. I mean, Dotson, he's really been the bright spot for this team.
This season, yeah.
Lauren has been underwhelming, but Dotson has come in and has proven that it gives me confidence that if we had a line and if Wentz was playing,
our offense
solid, our offense could run fine. Our offense could have everything we needed to, but just the pieces aren't all the way there. And it's disappointing.
You gotta consider we do have Chase Young and Brian Robinson both coming back soon. I mean, maybe
Brian Robinson back this week.
That's amazing to hear. But I don't think they make that big of a difference. I hope they do, but you never know. Well, I think we have a guest joining us right now.
I'd say for the third straight week, I guess we have a guest. We have he's hopping on the Zoom. Musical mastermind, former champion of the league.
Well, hello.
Prominently dressed with his
Hello.
apparel on. Alex himself. How are you doing?
Nice to see you guys. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course, we're happy to have you here. A former league champion. You're the best guest we've had on up until this point. I mean, just across the board. So it's
definitely.
I am. Listen, we have a lot of good players in this league. We have a lot of good minds, a lot of diverse kind of ways of tackling fantasy football, but that's what makes this beautiful, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Sure. Couldn't agree more. So, yeah, we got your team on the right there. If you want to talk about it at all now, or share a little bit about yourself, actually, too. Why don't you do that?
I've been doing fantasy for a couple years with these guys, a close group of guys that we are from home, And listen, this year I had high hopes. I have high hopes because when I'm looking at my team, I love my bench. Listen, let me put it to you this way. I love my bench. I see at least 2 or 3 names on my bench that could go off at any moment this year. And that's what makes me happy because last year I had a down year, and I feel like what let me down was I had no depth across the board with any position.
Yeah.
So
great depth right now.
Yeah, so you're loaded.
And you get Robinson back this week.
Robinson's about to come. Yeah, so you.
Yeah, Robinson is coming back. Shout out to my Commanders.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean that was a poor performance, but I mean hopefully they bounce back.
I don't know if we'll bounce back, Jacob. I don't know what's gonna
Are you
happen.
done with them?
Listen, I'm not done with them, but I'm really happy fantasy football exists. That's all I'm gonna say.
It gives you
As we
something to
all-
root for.
as we all-
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if it, I love football, but like when your team's terrible, it's so difficult to like be able to like stay motivated to support your team
I couldn't agree more.
with Carson Wentz in the back. But that's beside the
That's the other thing. Yeah. That's a whole
Yeah.
nother
I mean, that also has fantasy implications, the Commanders, because Curtis Samuel started off piping hot.
Oh yeah.
And he's been averaging like, I don't know, like not like 8 or 9 targets a game, which is crazy. He's not even like the first wide receiver on the sheet, but he's doing a lot of stuff. But we'll see what happens with the offense. If the offense for Washington gets it going, the only way I see it getting going is if Curtis Samuel is involved. So that's why I mentioned that earlier about my benches, because I actually started Curtis Samuel last week against Matt. But he didn't do very well. But I mean, I still won, but he didn't do very well. You know what I mean? So I have high hopes for him, and ultimately, I have high hopes for my team. I'm not gonna say anything. Listen, I'm gonna
Don't want
take
to
it.
jinx it.
Listen, this is how it goes. It's week by week. It's always week by week. You can't jump the gun, especially with my team. It's incredibly boom or bust. Like this team could be awful in a couple weeks. Like it could be so bad.
That's honestly a lot of players have been like that this year, though. I feel like.
It's been a weird year.
I mean, what do you guys think about Jacob's team? Like, come on.
Hey,
Well,
we'll
I mean,
get
I guess-
into it. My first one.
Yeah, I'll say we're
Look
talking
up.
about matchups. Jacob got his first win this week. Well, getting into that, I guess I obviously not successful. Joel beat me this week. Very poor, just not excited about that. Not my best performance. Jacob, though, first win, kind of a little bit controversial, slightly controversial victory. Ultimately, it didn't end up mattering, but Yusuke, this ended up starting Alvin Kamara. We had a slight group chat conversation about it, a slight league, huddle, and decided that he was not going to be allowed to get a replacement. He had to put one in before the game. He didn't. Jacob ended up getting the Debo touchdown, winning anyway, but still, big result, first win. How are you feeling?
Either way, I won by enough. Doesn't really matter. Screw you, Skate, by the way. It's good to be off the bottom of the standings. Can't wait to show you guys that. Yeah.
Listen, I was on that side of the fence with that argument where I agreed with the ultimate decision because I don't think I think you're responsible for your own players.
You gotta
and
wake
that's-
up.
So I'm really glad that you guys, the commish didn't take any unlawful actions with granting that kind of permission because that gives precedent for the rest of the year
Exactly.
in this league. 'Cause this is a
And-
fair league.
Yeah, I mean,
Democratic League, we came together and we made a decision. It was something.
yeah. I didn't really want to try to be too involved with it because I was obviously in the game, but I felt like you can't do that. If that was anyone else, I would be very against that.
Jacob, I was rooting for you regardless.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
Anything against
Yeah, so rest of the matchups, we see Alex, you took down Matt. What's your
Yeah.
record?
2-2. I'm 500.
Oh yeah, moving back to 500, going upward trend. Same with me. And then we got Sammy staying undefeated, taking down Adwin, and then Ian defeating Matt Cohen. So yeah, let's take a look at those standings now.
So yeah, going into the Sammy still undefeated. It's kind of, he's looking like the team
The
to
Joel
beat.
from last year again.
Yeah, say he's last year's Joel.
I
He's
agree.
back at the top.
Hey, but look at Joel creeping up the standings.
I don't know. Joel beat me 3-1. Joel's nothing to be disrespected. Ian, most points
though.
scored, 3-1. I feel like we have a solidly competitive league. A lot of 2-2 teams. I think this week is going to be a big decider based on some of the matchups. So we're going to start to see like a bit more of a separation, like in terms of the tiers, because we have a lot of 2-2 teams right now. Once that starts to, I mean, I'm sorry, Jacob, but like we got the 1 and 3 and the 0 and 4. That's just kind of like there. And then we got the 3 and 1 teams. All these 2 and 2 teams, once we start to break up, then I think we're going to start to, it's going to start to get really interesting for the rest of the season.
I agree. Alex, how do you feel about where you sit in the standings right now?
I'm just taking a look at the standings, and I'm just kind of like going through, like, who do these guys have? And the first thing that I'm thinking about is Sammy's team is really good, guys.
Dude,
Like,
his receivers are really good.
this year, his team is cracked. And honestly, I'm also looking around, and I'm seeing that, like, Joel being 3 and 1, he scored the second least points in the whole league.
Literally, that's a fluke. That's kind of a fluke.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just
I don't
saying.
think his team is as good as his record reflects right now. Honestly, he barely beat Matt last week. I don't know how much he beat you by, Anthony, but
it was close. I mean, he beat me. It was like he beat me solidly, but it wasn't crazy. He didn't do me dirty. It was respectful.
You can't count Ian out because Ian's scoring the most points. He's going off. So what's up?
One thing I have against Ian's team is Saquon and McCaffrey. I don't think they sustain the whole season. And I mean, I hate to say it, they're two of the best running backs in the league, but do you guys think they both make it through the whole season without an injury?
Oh, I mean, he has
been on the line of the like questionable, unquestionable.
He has Miles Sanders too, though. Like his running backs are dirty. His receivers are kind of, I think that's where he's weak. He has Metcalf and Sutton. Those are two guys who I don't know if they are like
Awful.
Those are very boomer busts. Like I don't.
Same with Tyler a little bit.
I wouldn't take anyone on either one of those whole football teams. No, let alone people. I wouldn't take anyone on the Broncos offense, and I wouldn't take anyone on the Seahawks offense for my team. Like maybe
the Panthers or the Giants, right?
Yeah, but Saquon is just like an anomaly, you know what I mean?
Saquon, he's just kind of a beast. Yeah.
But you are right. Like both of those guys are like super like injury prone.
And on kind of okay bad offenses. Like not the best offenses.
They're on bad offenses.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think.
Especially the Panthers. I can't. Well, I mean, what am I saying? Giants. Come on.
I have DJ Moore in my other league. He's pissing me off, dude. He's awful. That whole offense is awful. Besides McCaffrey,
DJ Moore is like he was. I had him last year, and he had some crazy games. He was so good.
Yeah, he did.
I'm happy with where I'm at because I was getting worried last week when I was 1 and 2 because you know when you're early in the season in fantasy and you're like thinking, oh, it's a long season ahead. It's okay if I drop a couple games.
You don't want to get behind early. You don't.
The season's not that long, man.
Yeah, I would say it creeps up on you.
If you fall behind early, you're like, if I don't win this next week, it's not looking good.
Yusuke is kind of down bad right now. Yusuke needs a win this week. Like he can't afford to go
on the ropes here.
He's on punishment watch. Honestly, he's last place watch right now.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we have some matchups coming up here. Yeah, I guess Alex, this is your just a little deeper look into your matchup. We got your scores, your players here. Just I guess, what about him? Yeah, dirty man.
What the heck happened last weekend?
He's been going off this year. I mean, this year he's just been like one of the top tight ends. I know he was a first round pick, kind of highly touted, but this year in fantasy it's starting to show a lot more than it has in the past.
He's like, it's crazy because the Lions are just like they score like at least 30 points a game.
Lions are like
they're the best offense in the league right now.
Their record does not reflect how good they are at all. It's like, and I think last season it was like kind of the same thing, but this year they're actually like last season they were bad. This season they're like
they barely lost to the Eagles. They played the best game against the Eagles anyone's played this year. Like Lions though, if they make the playoffs, they'll be a 7 seed and they'll lose first round realistically, but maybe in a year or two, give them a chance.
Yeah,
And it's not on Goff either. Goff's been fine.
yo, look at that bench though. Clyde and Mike. I need that. I'm starting both of them this week.
You need to.
Yeah, but look, when you know when like you go into the week and you play against someone and they have like a Thursday night game and like a early Sunday game or something like that. Like he had 50 something points on the board to my 0 by like the start of Sunday
Oh,
because
by Tyreek.
I think he had Tyreek and Justin Jefferson played the morning game.
Oh, the London game
Oh
too.
my.
So I started the Sunday like I was down bad. I was like, this is gonna be a and then Eckler just went off with Hawkinson.
Eckler went crazy, dude.
Yeah, I know. So you came back with the big dub.
Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, my game, it went well. One thing I was upset about was Terry McLaurin, and obviously Tony Pollard kind of did not do anything. I was kind of surprised because he was playing the Commanders. We suck, and I really should have put in Dameon Pierce. He's the guy, and he's gonna be starting from here on out. As you guys will see eventually, I made a trade. So Najee is no longer on my team. So basically, Dameon Pierce is my number one. I hope that pans out. I don't really know. But my receivers are gonna be stacked. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully, I can get another win, move up to 2-3, and be back into it.
And
Yeah.
So now
You
what
know,
were you
but
gonna say, Alex? What are you?
Yeah, say
Man, I don't want to say anything.
it. You can if you want. It's
Oh
an
no,
open podcast.
I love your optimism. I'm hoping you come back.
Thank you.
I
Honestly,
I need someone to trash talk Matt.
yeah. No, dude, if Matt loses again, dude, this week and I win, I'm gonna trash talk him so much. Because then we're gonna have the same record and be playing each other.
Oh, he will. That would have been like because he talked so much smack in the early part of the season.
I know it's coming back to. It's gonna come back to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm the only one out of the three today that took a L. Team didn't perform. I mean, Jonathan Taylor really just not being Jonathan Taylor this season has been my biggest downfall. Matt Ryan has single-handedly tanked the Indianapolis offense. He has been so awful that no one can produce. And Jonathan Taylor has been rendered useless. So thankfully he's out this week and I don't have to consider benching him, which I was probably going to do. But yeah, just disappointing what he did. But I saw Mike Evans came back, did well. Nick Chubb is still the #1 back in fantasy. He's doing well. Kyle Pitts, terrible, awful. Shouldn't have picked a tight end that early. I should have just been streaming it. I'm going to start Higbee, and that's just going to be what it is from now on. Rashad Penny went off, but I'm not really expecting more out of him. And Tyler Algier, talked about him a little bit earlier. I was a sneaky little pickup. I've picked him up and dropped him 3 times before this week. I was like, I just had a feeling that he was going to end up getting more touches in that backfield, or that something was going to happen there. And obviously it came in the form of Cordell Patterson getting put on IR. So now Algier, for this week at least, looks like he's going to be the lead back. They're going against the Buccaneers. So it's not like the best matchup, but I feel good about him. He's going to be getting carries and touches, and at least for the next few weeks, he's going to have a chance to establish himself as the #1 back in Atlanta. So happy about that pickup to my team.
Yeah, that is a good pick.
Look at,
I think I tried to pick him up as well, actually.
Yeah, so he's good.
you missed out. Let's take a look at next week for Alex and you guys. Both of you, actually.
Yeah, I'll say so. I guess we'll jump
We
into
got
the
a
week.
head-to-head matchup here.
We are matched up this week. I don't think I've picked up I don't remember if I picked up a defense or not yet, but at the time of this screenshot, a defense was not picked up. I have the Jags defense. I have the Jags defense right now.
Those defense, I switched mine out.
Okay, so, but yeah, I don't know. I think you're projected for more points than me.
Not a good.
A lot more.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
like
it's without my defense. With my defense,
yeah.
it's a little bit closer,
Maybe 8 points. What?
with my defense, well, Jags are projected for 7.8 this week. They're playing Houston, so It'll be like one. It's like 1 point, but I don't know. Close matchup.
It's gonna be close.
Algiers starting for right now is a bit. I don't know. I'm not too sure on whether or not that will happen. There might be a trade or two in the works right now. So this matchup or this lineup right now may not end up being
Whoa.
final one, but feel good about this lineup. If I had to go into it with the Jags defense starting this, I would feel fine. I feel as good as I can about my chances with my team.
Alex, who do you think is gonna win you this matchup if you win? What player on your team has to go up?
I'll tell you who'll lose me the matchup if I lose, and that's
that.
definitely Nick Chubb.
The connection settings in the Google Home app.
It's definitely
Nick Chubb. You think he's gonna go off?
Listen, dude, Nick Chubb, anytime I've ever played that guy in fantasy, he's had at least like 25 points on me.
He's dirty.
He's dirty. He's just dirty, not even fantasy-wise. Like, from a purely football standpoint, that guy is nuts. Nuts. On my team, who if I win, listen, I've been waiting for, like, Fournette to break out. He hasn't He's been solid, but he hasn't broken out.
Against Atlanta, that's a good matchup
He's
too.
gonna this week.
I'm hoping that he gets like a goal line touch or a couple. And listen, it all comes back to the running backs because Allen is pretty solid. Even though he's playing against Pittsburgh, I'm like pretty confident, I'd say, in Josh Allen's ability to get me a solid amount of points. But it always comes down to like Eckler was not very good for the first 3 weeks of the season. And then he goes off, has a 30-point game. So I'm hoping Eckler and Fournette, like that duo, can combine for like, I don't know, like 40 points or like 35 points. I'd be happy with that.
Possible.
It's possible. I mean, I'm happy about those two in a way because I feel like they're just like the undisputed backs of their teams and they're like the workhorses. And even though the Chargers haven't been able to run the ball properly, Eckler's going to be like in and around catching passes.
Getting catches.
Yeah, say for PPR too, the catches too is huge.
Exactly. But and then I look at Lamb and I think Cooper Rush is a great quarterback. I'm not even joking. Like when I say that, not great, but like I think he's like could start. He could start for like at least like 7. He could start for us.
Better than Carson Wentz?
You think he's better than him?
Would I rather have Cooper Rush behind center right now or Carson Wentz? I would 1,000%.
I mean, it's actually hard. I kind of agree with you right now.
Like just based off of last week, I would rather have Cooper Rush than Carson Wentz.
Off of every single thing, I don't care about his MVP season. I would 1,000% take Cooper Rush over Carson Wentz because
I think at this point you have to, right? Like
Cooper Rush is undefeated as a starter. No, he's never lost.
Yeah, he hasn't lost.
Yeah, he's like 4-0, and he literally hasn't thrown I don't even know if he's ever thrown an interception. Like, I'm not even joking.
No, he hasn't. I know this year he definitely hasn't. He hasn't committed 1 turnover.
And it's not like
crazy.
Yeah, and it's not like Zeke is going off or anything. It's like they have to pass the ball. CeeDee Lamb had like 100 yards last week.
Noah Brown's been cooking. Gallup's back.
Listen, you always know the value of a quarterback when he gets people involved on the team that you haven't heard of. I had not heard of Noah Brown.
Noah Brown? I didn't know who Noah Brown was.
The most basic name ever.
Yeah.
I had no clue who that was.
Yeah, man. I like him a lot. And then I'm looking at Mike Williams. I mean, Mike Williams is just like he's either like a dog, like who will catch anything out of the sky. Like literally, he could have caught that North Korean missile that was TJ Hawkinson, I mean, I hope he can go off again because that was ridiculous. Almost 40 points as a tight end. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm excited for this matchup because I like Anthony's team a lot. So
yeah, so I think it'll be a solid matchup. Good chance to good litmus test just to see.
Yeah,
I'm gonna feel if I lose this matchup, definitely gonna need to make some change to my team. I just think this will be a good.
You're
test.
1-2, right?
No, I'm 2-2 right now. Come on.
We just saw
Yeah.
the standings, man. Come on.
You don't have to change. I think 2 and 3, like you don't have to change a lot unless you really think something's wrong with your team.
I don't know. I'm just it depends. I don't know what my next matchups are, but I don't want to lose to, like, if I start losing and then I'm 2 games back, like it's just the playoffs are coming and then I need to be scoring points as well. That's the other thing. I just can't be I can't have my team put up duds like for the sake of tiebreak. I need to be putting up.
I don't see a blowout for either one of us this week. I think it'll be close, but also I'm curious. Do you have any quarterbacks on your bench by any chance?
No, I've been thinking of like streaming quarterback and picking someone up, but
Not
I don't know.
many.
I know what I'm getting out of Kirk Cousins. Everyone is Kirk Cousins, and I know what I'm getting out of Kirk Cousins. I feel good about him. I don't want to I don't feel the need to like pick someone up and waste that spot for them to like be just like for my team. I don't think anyone I'm picking up is going to be a game changer week to week. Like, I don't know. It's not that big of a deal to me.
Yeah, man. I understand.
Thinking about trading for one, I think quarterback is kind of like tight end. Like, if you don't have one of those top guys, like it doesn't really, like if you don't have one of the top 3 or 4, like if you don't have a Lamar, Josh Allen, like Burrow, I don't know, like one of those guys, then you might as well just pick them up off waivers. Realistically, like it's not that big of a difference. It's not worth the high value or picking one high, which I ended up not doing.
I actually agree with that, but the one thing I would mention is that I think there's still less tight ends that are elite than quarterbacks still.
Yes,
In
yes.
Definitely.
in a fantasy thing, I'm not saying like in like football
Yeah.
standard. Obviously, as we can see, Carson Wentz had like 30 points 2 weeks in a row, but
He's awful.
you know,
Yeah. Well, let's get into the season outlook for Alex here.
All right. So I guess this is
You want to explain any of these photos?
yeah. So I guess just
I don't remember any of them happening.
yeah.
It wasn't there. That one of them's not even me, so
No, that's you.
yeah, it's me. After I beat Matt last week.
Literally.
All right. So we just wanted to wish you farewell. Thank you, I guess, obviously, for coming on. We know it's later for you on the East Coast, but thank you for joining us. We wish you the best we see you're sporting the hat, but, had to give you a shout out for Yale Music. We hope you're doing phenomenal up in New Haven.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure. Thank you for having me on, guys. Like I hope people start tuning into this series more because I think it's very, very relatable for a lot of guys like us,
Oh yeah.
I'll grow.
We're just trying to win money off of our friends. That's all we want to do.
Yeah, it's nothing too like complicated.
Exactly.
My
Exactly.
God.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, man. See you. All right, so another guest on. Happy to have Alex on. We're gonna get into Jacob's matchup now. We went over me and Alex since we're going up against each other. But before we get into Jacob's, we touched on it earlier. We have a trade. First, or I guess I have the first trade of the season. We got the second trade of the season for Jacob now. Promise we're not just doing this for the podcast, but
It's real.
here we go. Jacob trading with Matt, another one of our guests trading with a guest. So go over it. Talk about it.
Hey, I'm not a guest. It's not a guest trading with a guest. It's guest trading with
Cohen trading with you. We have people
Gotcha.
People who've been on the
Gotcha. Yeah. So I am sick of Terry McLaurin. I'm sick of Juju Smith, and I was sick of Najee Harris. And honestly, there's other people I'm sick of my team still, and I'm still trying to get rid of, like Cam Akers,
and Daryl Henderson.
Daryl Henderson. Yeah, that guy. I might drop him soon, honestly. Tony Pollard. He pissed me off this week. He really did. I thought about trading him literally because of that performance, but that's a bit of an overreaction. I mean, you guys may think Najee Harris is a bit of a weird trade. I kind of just he hasn't been doing that well. The Steelers' offense hasn't looked good, and they're sticking with Kenny Pickett, which I don't know if that's necessarily better. He threw 3 picks. I get one that was at the end, but like. don't see they have a tough schedule ahead. I saw the next 4 games. They were against really strong defenses. I think they play the Bucks this week or something like that. Bucks in 2 weeks, and then
You're going to expect them to be down in a lot of those games. It's not like they're going to be relying on Najee. They're going to be forcing Pickett to have to throw the ball a lot, which probably won't end up well, and will probably it'll compound itself. They're just going to be losing a lot and maybe badly for the next few weeks.
I couldn't agree more.
Unless Pickett is him. Unless Pickett is him. Unless Pickett.
I mean, he could turn it around, but that was against the Jets, dude. Like you'd think they would be fine against the Jets of all teams. So maybe the Jets are slightly better this year, but I still don't see the Jets getting better than third place in their division.
No.
But yeah, so let me get into who I got. I kind of saw it as a trade of basically Najee for St. Brown, which
I think that's fair.
I was a little surprised he agreed to, given how St. Brown has played this year and how Najee has played. But he had Javonte Williams on his team, and he was desperate for a running back. So I got my solid wide receiver 1 to go alongside with Deebo Samuel. I think that's a solid 2 receivers now. And as you can see, I also got Chris Olave to go in off the bench. Potential flex play at times. Could also be a trade piece. He's been playing well. I don't necessarily need him. I also have Chris Godwin, who looked good this week. Could trade him as well. Just want to stack up my starting lineup currently because I feel like it's not as strong as I want, and I have a lot of depth. And as you can see, I got Kareem Hunt too. If Chubb gets hurt, could be more valuable, but for now, he'll probably stay on the bench.
As a handicap, though, I feel like as a handicap, Hunt's probably one of the better ones in the league.
Hunt and Pollard, those are the 2 probably handicaps you want. I have both.
And ones who can be flexes some weeks. So
exactly, it's just matchup based, so potentially see time. But yeah, let's take a look at my matchup. As you can see, I'm going up against a 2-2 Adwin team. Well, you can't see that, but he's 2-2. I'm 1-3. I have Tom Brady. I played him last week. He had a solid performance going up against Rodgers. Giants defense has been decent. Atlanta defense, I think Brady is going to win that, like the projection says. I'm a little worried about Derrick Henry. Little worried about Melvin Gordon now that he's the guy in Indianapolis.
I don't know. He's fumbled a lot. I don't know. Melvin Gordon's an interesting.
If you look at his team, half his team is playing on Thursday night. Pittman, Judy, Gordon. I didn't even realize that.
He does have a lot of Indy and Detroit.
That's it. I could see that game being a slow, like 10-15 game, 10-15 point scored game.
Especially in a game like in this projection doesn't feature. I'm assuming you're starting Amon-Ra St. Brown once that trade goes.
Oh yeah, this is Amon-Ra, and I'm considering playing Olave.
Flex Olave over Godwin.
I'm still deciding about the flex position right now, but I don't want to completely rely on the Buccaneers. And I think I have to play Brady right now. Brady's been playing well.
But I say either way, you're definitely going to be in a matchup that's pretty closely projected. You're definitely in a position where your matchups are definitely looking good, and that one game could just tank out of his team for this week.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. If that happens, I'd ideally be 2-3. Let me knock on wood though. I think I have a lot of good matchups this week though. I think Godwin, he should be decent against Atlanta. Deebo against Carolina, I love. Deebo seems to be back. Jamal Williams, oh my God, he's him. When Swift is out, he's him. So
what is going to happen when Swift comes back? Like
Swift has to be the guy, but they're going to be splitting. It's going to be close to splitting. It's going to be like 15-13.
Some respect. I think at the very least, they're just going to we're seeing why he was getting the goal line touches so consistently, and he's definitely going to, once they're in the 10 and the 5, deep in the red zone, I feel like it's just going to be Jamal Williams time. They have to. You can't not do that after the way he's been playing.
I couldn't agree more. It's funny to think about that. 3 of my running backs are all solid running back 2s. Jamal Williams, and then the other 2 we talked about on my bench. And I guess if you want to count Henderson too.
Yeah, so you kind of.
And Akers basically is a 2 because he doesn't do anything.
They're both 2s.
But yeah, let's get in. Want to get into so high, buy low,
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. So high, you got that right?
Yeah,
Kamara.
so start off with Alvin Kamara. I have him in another league. I am currently trying to sell him high. I think sell high here is kind of like a subjective thing. I think it's just sell Alvin Kamara. I don't, this season, granted, he has the opportunity to bounce back. You know, it's not like, you know, we're 4 weeks in. It's not like the season's over for him, but he just hasn't looked the same. That offense isn't really running through him in the same way. I think they have a lot more of, they have receiving weapons now. I mean, when they're healthy, you think Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Olave in there. I don't know who their tight ends
Taysom
are.
Hill even too.
Taysom Hill is a weapon out of the backfield or just wherever they decide to line him up. Like they have a solid enough team that the offense does not have to run through Kamara in the same way anymore. And he's kind of been dealing with the injuries the past few years. I think he's a guy who, because of his ceiling and like his upside and the idea of him getting a lot of receptions and being like a PPR machine, he's projected very high, has a lot of value. But if you could get out on Kamara, pick up like a solid RB2 level guy and then another flex level guy as well, or just something, you could figure out a solid package for yourself featuring Kamara. So something to consider. I'm trying to parlay that for myself in another league, and I think it is definitely something just worth looking at.
On the other hand, there's DK Metcalf. Obviously, he had his best performance of the year this last week. They went off. The Seahawks offense in general went off against arguably the worst defense in the league in the Lions. So I think everyone can see why we have him as a so high. I don't think he's keeping this up. I don't know who the Seahawks play this week. I can't really remember.
Yeah,
But,
I don't think Gino's gonna continue to.
It's not sustainable. Like the stats with Russell Wilson and Gino not comparing, like with Gino being a lot better. I think Russell Wilson's going to turn around and be better at the end of the year.
They play the Saints. Oh, I play the Saints.
That's a solid defense. So I think this is the time to sell him. If you can sell him now, get the value he is worth for. Do it now.
Yeah, for sure.
Buy low. So the buy low first, we got Brian Robinson. Obviously, as we mentioned earlier, he's coming back on the not on the podcast. He's coming back.
He is going, yeah,
this week. Well, we wish he'd come on the podcast. I don't think he will. Yeah, he's back from the shooting in his knee, unfortunately. But he was at practice. The Commanders released a pretty cool hype video for him. I watched that.
I'm ready.
Hype me up a bit. I'm hoping he has a big week. I don't have him on my team, but it'll just be good to see. I think a lot of people would be happy for him, and I'm hoping the best for him. I think it's a good time to buy him. Buy him low now. He could take over Gibson's job. He hasn't been too productive recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say, as a Gibson owner, definitely wary of Brian Robinson coming back. He's a guy who can really, he has the potential. I wanted to draft Brian Robinson even while he was injured. I wanted him to put him in my IR slot, but he's a guy who threatens to take over that backfield. If he didn't get shot, it feels like he was going to be the starter. That's kind of the way that things were trending. Gibson was just going to be a punt returner and what McKissick is. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if the injury does anything to that, how long it takes for Robinson to get up to that level, or, you know, if it's just, we're going to see this week, Robinson's the guy. He's number one.
I'd love to see that because the offense needs a change. I don't know what that needs, but I don't know if this will be it, but hopefully.
Yeah, and then the other buy low is DeAndre Swift. He's been injured. I think he's out last week. He's probably going to be out this week too. And the Lions go on bye week 6. So the expectation, if you were to buy in on him, he's not going to play until week 7. But when he gets back, we were just talking about Jamal Williams. Obviously, Jamal Williams is going to be getting those goal line touches, but based off what we saw the first few weeks of the season, DeAndre Swift is the number one guy. He has the potential to be a really explosive runner who's getting a decent amount of carries and receptions as well. if you are in a place with your team where you're comfortable to where you feel like you have that IR spot maybe, or you have a space on your bench that you're willing to hold on to, and you have running backs that you can start instead of Swift, I think this is a great guy to take a chance on. And then when he does come back, at the very least, you have a plus flex, and at the best, you have a plus RB2, borderline RB1, depending on the week. So definitely Swift is someone just to keep an eye on, depending on what team owns him, depending on how your team is feeling. He might be someone who you want to invest.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so getting into the waiver wire here. The first one, someone who actually got claimed off of our waivers, so not someone who you could pick up in our league, but Martell Boone, the backup.
Isn't it Mike Boone?
Mike Boone, is it? Martell Boone, someone who I went to school with. Mike Boone is, Mike Boone is a running back for the Denver Broncos. He's backing up Melvin Gordon. And I think we were talking about Melvin Gordon earlier. Obviously, Melvin Gordon, he's an experienced back. We've seen what he can do. Expectation is he comes in, at least for this week, he's the starter. But Boone, I mean, Gordon, he's had the fumble issues. He's had injury issues. He's questionable right now. I think he was limited or out of practice. So I think just to have that insurance policy with Javonte Williams, I don't know if you really, I think it's just having Boone is like an even more important insurance policy now. I think him as a handicap, he becomes one of the top handicaps in fantasy automatically, just with Gordon's injury history and kind of his current concerns already coming into this season. So definitely someone to pick up, worth having, and just stashing, seeing what he does, seeing if he can produce with Gordon or maybe overtake Gordon to be the lead back.
I couldn't agree more. The other two guys we got are a few more. It's all AFC West guys, but Derek Carr, Gerald Everett. Derek Carr has been kind of playing well. He had a really good game against the Broncos this past week. Took me a sec there. They beat the Broncos.
My first win of the season, I think.
Yeah, it was definitely his best game of the season. And I think I'm someone looking for a quarterback. I actually got lucky enough to get Goff, but I think he is still on the waiver wire. Derek Carr in our league. But I still, if I didn't get Goff, I had Derek Carr as my number 2 guy. I want to get a backup quarterback because I don't know if I trust Tom Brady right now. I still might play Goff. Don't really know, but yeah. Then there's Gerald Everett. On the other hand, I have him in my other league, and he's my RB1 over Kittle currently. So that kind of says a lot right there. So I think Gerald Everett's kind of found a groove, found rhythm with Justin Herbert, and I think he's going to continue to get fed, especially near the red zone.
He's still on our waivers too.
He's literally the tight end 4, I think.
I've been he's 5. I've been trying to find space.
I don't have a spot right now either.
I don't have a spot for him. It's really just Pitts. Pitts is the bane of my roster. I need to get rid of Pitts. Please, if anyone wants to
start streaming tight ends
for anything, like I'm just streaming tight end for the rest of this year. I shouldn't have picked Pitts. If I couldn't, I was being too optimistic. I need to get rid of him, but I can't drop him. Like Pitts isn't droppable.
I would consider trading for him. I know we'll talk about this after, but I would actually consider something. That'd be something to talk about in this podcast as well. Definitely not collusion or anything. All right. You want to get in those best matchups now?
Yeah. So I guess for me, we talked about him. I guess the best matchup. This is a little bit optimistic, but I'm going with Tyler Algier for mine. Obviously, he's starting for Atlanta. He was really good in college out of BYU. Did a great job. He was a 5th round pick this year. He was a healthy scratch week 1. I think I drafted him in this league. He was a healthy scratch, so I ended up cutting him. Then played, got in, I don't know, cut him, dropped him. He's back. He's starting now. They're playing against the Buccaneers, or at least for this week with Cordell Patterson out. He's going to be starting. Huntley did well, but I think Algier is going to be the number 1 guy, and he was a bit more of like a power. He's a bigger guy. So I think in the red zone, I definitely expect him to get touches. And that's why I have him in my best matchup. Even though, I don't know, they're playing against Tampa Bay. it's a rough matchup for them. They're probably going to lose.
Bucks just let up 40 points last week, so
If Atlanta can be competitive somewhat, at least for a period of the game, I'm expecting Tyler Algier to get red zone touches. He's a rookie. I think Atlanta's going to want to see what they have out of him. I think they're going to give him opportunities, and I'm expecting him to get a touchdown this week. I do feel confident that if we were betting, I would prop bet Tyler Algier touchdown. I think he's going to get one this week. I kind of just feel it. I think that with this being his first start, and I think they're going to give him opportunities, and in the red zone especially, he's going to be the preferred option. So I think for red zone, it's maybe a little bit touchdown dependent, but I think it's a really good matchup for this week.
I think that's definitely a good bet, something to consider. On the other hand, I got Deebo Samuel. I mentioned this earlier, going up against Carolina. He finally woke up this last week against a solid defense in the Rams.
Crazy run.
It was mostly that run, I'm not gonna lie, but even still, he had 100-something yards. He was dominating that game. He kind of set the 49ers apart early. Their offense runs through him, in my opinion, and I'm happy I have him as my wide receiver one. He's going up against Carolina. Carolina has sucked, honestly. I think they're one of the worst teams in the league. I think San Francisco makes a statement here and takes them down with Deebo. Deebo 2 tutties. Bet it.
2 tutties. All right.
That's my bet.
We're calling tutties for both. I'm calling at least 1 for Algier. You're calling 2 for Deebo.
If these both hit, we're changing this whole podcast to touchdown prop betting.
A betting podcast, basically. We're doing touchdown props after this week if we get these right.
Exactly.
All right. So I guess that's it. We're at the end of this week. We made it. Another guest, another week. We've 5 weeks into the season. We've done 4 of these. Feeling pretty good. I think this is going well.
We hope you're liking it.
I hope you guys are liking it. Looking forward to how the season goes next week. I think definitely some important matchups for both of us. The season's starting to, really get a little bit more serious now. We're seeing some things separate, some things really starting to see what's what. So interested to see how stuff starts to develop.
Yeah, I need to. If I don't get this win here this week, things are looking kind of. I'm gonna be worried. But if I can get a win here, 2-3, I'd feel a lot better. Yeah, looking forward to this week. Thanks for joining us, y'all. We'll see you next week.